Do you find the girls in the WNBA to be inconsistent, unreliable, and give you a massive headache every time you bet on them? Well, you're not alone, because I do too. But strap up, lads. I've got a strategy that's going to flip this whole thing on its head. If it's your first time checking out the channel, I encourage you to subscribe because I'm dropping heat just like this every single day. I'll share my screen. We'll go through Outlier. I'll take you through the players that I like. I'll tell you what I don't. We'll research the hell out of these players the way we normally do. And at the end of the video, I'll give you my best bets and my reasons why. If that sounds interesting, let's go. So the only game on the slate is the Phoenix Mercury up against the Dallas Wings. Couple of injuries to mention in this one. For the Wings, Jaylen Brown, Sabali, Seagrass all out. Whereas for the Mercury, Osborne is out. Griner and Rebecca Allen are both game time decisions, but Diana Taurasi is back after resting that last game against the Fever with a sore back. Both of these teams not necessarily in great form at the moment. The Wings, they did end their 11-game losing streak, finally got a win on the board, but overall, they're still the Wings. And the Mercury, they actually lost to the Fever on ESPN, 83-72, lost to them at home. So we're jumping into the props for these games. We'll get through all the key players. We'll take my time through it. And as I said, stick around and you'll find my best bets and the reasons why. We'll hit the road team first, which is the Phoenix Mercury. Let's start with Diana Taurasi. I have had a bit of luck betting on Diana so far this season, so let's talk about it. Now, her points line in this game is 16.5. She's hit this in 6 out of her last 10, which ain't bad. She's hit this in 9 out of 18 games this season. It's a 50% hit rate. She has hit this in her last 2 games straight. And if we look at how she's played against the Wings, she's hit this in 3 out of her last 5. Positive news, she has hit this in both games against the Dallas Wings this season, scoring 28 and 20 points in those games. The Dallas Wings last in terms of points allowed in the league, so they're leaking a lot of points. And this Mercury, they can score quite a few points. Now, another interesting stat, which Outlier has given us right here, is that Diana Taurasi has exceeded 16.5 points in 6 straight games versus the bottom 5 defenses for points allowed. Diana Taurasi basically is a bully. If that team sucks, she's going to put it on them. If that team can play defense, she's probably not going to play very well at all. So 6 consecutive games, she's been able to cover this line. 19 plus in every single game against the teams that don't play defense. She's been given in the business. Now, keeping in mind, she's played 18 games. She's only hit this line 9 times. So 3 out of 12 games is how she's gone against this line against teams with good defense. Against the teams that are quite trash, Diana Taurasi has been punishing them. So my initial thought process here is just to take it, right? We've had a bit of luck with Diana playing similar types of plays, and it hasn't failed us yet. So I feel like we just have to run that back. I am checking Props Madness right now just to check to see how Diana scores her points and how the Wings defend that area. So Diana Taurasi obviously scores a lot of her points off spot-ups, off screens, as a pick-and-roll ball handler, and she gets to the line a little bit. A lot of her points coming from above the break, but the Dallas Wings actually pretty good at defending the perimeter. Where they do suck is anything on the inside. Diana Taurasi gets a lot of her points outside, so the under might be the look here. But looking at leans for now, everything adds up to take the Diana Taurasi over in her points. So let me just add that to, I'll add that to my pick section here on Outlier. And then at the end of the video, we'll go through everything. All right, another interesting stat, Diana Taurasi. This is a 3-point line. It's at 2.5. Now, the interesting stat here is that she's failed to exceed 2.5 3-pointers made in 7 straight games versus top 5 defenses for 3-pointers made. So I did mention that the Wings pretty good at defending the perimeter, top 5 in the league at defending 3-pointers. And Diana Taurasi, 7 from 7, under 2.5 3-pointers when she plays up against these teams. We do have the matchup against the Dallas Wings in here where she only scored 2. First time they matched up, she did hit 6 of them, but the last time, which is more recent, she did only finish with the 2. So checking out the stat is really just about her last 7 games. It's not every game. So Outlier again, a bit cheeky with it, but pretty consistent trend there of her going under 2.5 3-pointers made. I do like the look of that. I'm not saying we bet it, but I'll add that to my short list. Jumping into her rebounds now, 4.5, 5 out of the last 10, 9 out of 18 games this season. And against the Dallas Wings, she's actually rebounded quite well, 5 and 7 boards in the two games she's played against them so far this season. Dallas Wings are a very good rebounding team, and at the moment, this Phoenix Mercury team is not rebounding well at all. Fever rebounded them by a lot. So for this particular matchup, I'd probably lean to the over, but it's not a bet that I want to look at. So I have to pass on down to Tarossi and her boards. But we do have a few of her picks already in the slip. So we'll see what else we can find. Let's get into BG, Brittany Griner. Now, at the moment, we only have a rebound line for Brittany Griner, and it's only with Underdog. I've got all the books activated, so we'll probably see some late movement in the lines. And it's probably because of the number of game time decisions in this. Well, one, Brittany Griner is a game time decision, so we don't even know if she's going to play. So we've got the rebound line at 7, 4 out of her last 10, 4 out of 9 this season, and she did have 9 rebounds the last time these guys played. So, look, given her status, I don't think it's worth even wasting any time with Brittany Griner, so we'll have to pass on her. We know Rebecca Allen is in the same position, so we're really going to look at the backcourt here for the Mercury, then we'll head over to the wings. We'll start with Clear Copper. God, these lines are all screwed up. So we don't have a straight points line. We do have just her combo lines really at the moment, and that's because Underdog, the only one who were taking bets on her, I would assume. So let's talk about it. This is a points plus assists, where she's hitting 3 out of 10, 6 out of 19, so that's not good. Rebounds, 4.5. So we do have a rebound line, points and rebounds and assists. All right, so I think the key thing to take note of here is you're going to look at her numbers with and without Brittany Griner. Griner's been back for about 9 games now. So if we look at games without Griner this season, we see that she's only covered this line in 3 of 10. So the points plus assists, the hit rate's not great, but keeping in mind that the Dallas Wings do allow the most points and the most assists in this damn league. So it could be favorable for her, but not necessarily something I want to look at. Looking at this next one, games without Brittany Griner for her rebounds. 5 out of 10 games this season, she's gone over, averaging 4.5 boards. So the line is pretty much smack bang on. And the Dallas Wings, a strong rebounding team that don't allow too many. The last game against the Wings, she only had 1 rebound, and that was the game without Brittany Griner. If we just look at her even the game with Brittany Griner, Clear Copper only finished on 3 rebounds. So I'd probably lean to the under on this. Not gonna lie. Let me just add that real quick to my short list. Let's take a look at Natasha Cloud. See if we got more lines for her. And very much a similar story. So Underdog, the only book with lines at the moment for the W. Let me see if I can find any lines for them on my sports book. So I've got the lines available for them. So we've got a points plus assists, her assists, rebounds, and rebounds plus assists. All right, let's talk about it then, shall we? So let's look at her points plus assists first. So the main call out here is that her points line is probably going to be set at around 11.5. That's 10.5, 11.5 is where she normally sits. Knowing that the Wings do give up quite a few points. Another thing that's in our favor for Natasha Cloud at the moment is that she's in great scoring form. You can see in her last 4 games, 14, 14, 15, and 18 points. So she has been scoring quite well, and those assist numbers quite high as well. So the points plus assists, honestly, it's not such a bad look capturing her more recent form. If you look at how she's played against the Dallas Wings, though, this season, 9 points and 12 assists in the first game, then only 7 points and 7 assists in the second game. But given the recency bias to this all, it looks like a pretty good look. Outliers calling out that Natasha Cloud's exceeded 20 points and assists in 7 out of her last 9 games versus bottom 5 defenses for points allowed. So similar to Diana, when the matchup is nice, Natasha Cloud has been getting her work done. So I do like that for Natasha Cloud. Let me take a look. Let's look at her assist line. It's at 7. She's cashed in only 3 of her last 10. She has pushed 3 times this season, 7 out of 19 with 5 pushes on the 7. The matchup is good in the head-to-head matchups. 12 assists in the first game, push in the second game, right on 7. Take a look at... There's no outlier stats to call out. Man, 7 on the money. I don't think it's such a bad play, given you have the option for a push. 6.5, I would take it every single day. Because it's 7.5, which is where I think it will be by the time the books open up. I mean, I'd be overly comfortable taking right now, but I think I'd probably still be leaning that way. Looking at her rebounds, it's right on 4. The last 10, 8 out of 19. Tough rebounding matchup here. And you can see that she's had 4 rebounds in both games against the Dallas Wings. So I'll probably lean to the under, but given the difficulty of the matchup, but not a bet that I'm willing to take right now. Next up, we're going to take a look at the Dallas Wings, and hopefully we see some more lines available for this. Start with Enrique Ogunwa. I butchered that one. So we do have her full set of lines. Thank you very much. So her points line's at 22.5. She's cashed in 6 out of her last 10. The Mercury, not the best. Defensively, they do leak a whole lot of points. Now, Enrique has had a lot of success against the Mercury. Check this out. 5 out of her last 6 games, she's hit to the over. 28.1 points in her matchups against the Phoenix Mercury. The 2 games this season, 40 points and 25 points. Man, I think this is a great look. If we check out the outlier statistic, what are they giving us? Ogunbowale's exceeded 22.5 points in 6 out of her last 7 games at home. So the Wings at home here, you can see it here. 6 out of her last 7 at home. She's been crushing it. If we take a look at, so she's only played 7 games at home. So the Wings have been on the road for a fair bit of this season. 6 out of 7 games at home is an excellent track record. Last season, 7 out of 23. Fuck that. Just looking at this season, she has been a beast at home. The volume's nice. 21 attempts, only 36% from the field, but she has been cooking. So I do like the look of her points prop. Let me add that to my bet slip. We're looking at the offenses right now. Looking at a 3-pointers made prop. And one thing you want to keep in mind here, the Mercury, they do allow the most 3-pointers made. They also are the worst team at defending above the break. Enrique Ogunbowale also scores 48% of her points above the break as well. So her 3-point line at 3.5, cashing in 7 out of her last 12 in head-to-head matchups against the Mercury. She's cashed in 3 out of her last 6. So not the hit rate not as strong as it is when you're looking at the points prop. Volume's definitely going to be there. She's averaging 9.3 attempts in those games against the Mercury, 9.1 attempts on the season. But you need to hit 4 out of 9, 4 out of 10. Might be a little bit difficult, but if we take a look at this, Enrique Ogunbowale has failed to exceed 3.5 3-pointers in 14 of her last 18 games at home. So there's a 78% hit rate to the under on her 3-pointers made prop at home. So chances are she probably fucking hits it. You know what I'm saying? But based on how I have been researching, it's not something that I'll be willing to play with, given that stat. Or matchup is a good matchup, but given how she's played at home, might be something you want to avoid. The points prop, probably the better look here, because if she does have a strong game shooting some threes, you've got a good chance of cashing that. But we've seen she can cash this at home against this team with or without these 3-pointers. So I think the points prop is a better look. Let's take a look at her assist line now. It's at 4.5. She's hitting 4 out of her last 10, 9 of 18 this season. And in head-to-head matchups, only 2 out of 6. I will call out the last time she played them, she finished on 10 assists. So a pretty impressive game there for Enrique. This Mercury, they do give up a lot of assists as well. So what I do think could be a good look here is points plus assists for Enrique. Now, it's at 27.5. This is cashing 4 out of her last 6, but the 2 games she's played them this season, 44 and 35. So much higher than this line, because in the game where she only scored 25 points, she also managed to get 10 assists. In the game where she had 4 assists, she did score 40. So that could be a look. If we look at her home game, so this is her home. Her scoring at home has been excellent. But if you take a look at her points plus assists, she's managed to cash this in 6 out of 7 home games as well. Assist line 4.5. So looking at all of her home games, she's actually cashed her assist line in 6 out of the 7 games at home as well. So you have a better chance of cashing the points plus assists compared to just the points or just the assists. Look, potentially. But I do think the points prop, probably the easiest one to really bank on. The points plus assists, she could get the 27.5 in points alone. But if there's a chance they slow her down, or she's a bit more of a facilitator and she scores 20 points and gives you 10 assists, then you got a chance of hitting this too. So I'm going to add that to my short list of bets, as you can see right here. And then we'll see where we land on them. Let's take a look at her rebound line. It's at 4.5. She's cashed in 6 out of her last 10. 10 out of 18 so far this season. The Mercury give up a lot of rebounds as well in head-to-head matchups. Has rebounded well against them in the 2 games this season. 7 boards in both of those games. Last season, didn't get even close to covering this rebound line. But look, she has been hitting. And if you just look at her PRA in the 2 games against this team, 51 and 42 up against a line of 32.5. So she pretty much covers all her lines in this matchup against the Mercury. So same game parlay with the over could be a real good look here. And it's something that I'm strongly considering. I'm not going to lie to you. See if we have any outlier stats on this. Nothing major, so it really kind of ties into what we've spoken about. But the rebounds are a good look. I can outlier stat. She seeded 4.5 rebounds in 4 out of her last 5 games at home. So we know that her points go up at home, her assists are good at home, and her rebounds are good at home. She just likes living here, I must say. So what I'm probably going to play, and I'm letting you all know right now, so you don't have to wait for the video for the Eureka play. I'm probably just going to take the over in her PRA, and then we'll take the over in points, over in rebounds, over in assists, and just hope she balls out. That's what I'm thinking. That's where my head's at for Eureka. Let's jump into the next player, though. We're going to go with Tierra McCowan. Now, I've had a shit show. Not going to lie, betting on Tierra McCowan. When I bet on the under, she goes over. When I bet on the over, she goes under. And the last 2 games against the Storm are the perfect example of that. Let's see what we can come up with here. Her points line at 11.5, 5 out of her last 10. This is a home game, so keep that in mind. This season, she's 10 out of 19. And in head-to-head matchups, 2 out of 4, but the 2 games against the Mercury this season, she has murked them, 13 and 20 points in those 2 games, right? Outlier stat, what do you got for me? Tierra McCowan has exceeded 11 points in 4 out of her last 5 games at home. 4 out of her last 5 games versus bottom 5 defenses for points allowed. So an 80% hit rate. When she's up against a team that can't defend for shit, she goes to town on them. So, do we lean to the over on this one? Do we choose not to bet it? Can't help it, though. I'm leaning to the over. Now, one thing to keep in mind, they've played 5 teams who are in the bottom 5 in terms of defenses for points allowed, and they're going to have less opportunities for that, given they're one of the teams in the bottom 5. But what we're basically looking at, we've got 2 games already against the Phoenix Mercury that are captured in this. So there's 3 other games to account for, the Spark, the Aces, and the Spark once again. And it was 2 out of 3 in those games. Given the fact that she's destroyed the Mercury before, how do you not just go with the over, right? So that's one thing I'm thinking about. Looking at her form as of late, just in the last 10, she'd be getting wild. I think the good thing that will keep her on the court, I think with or without Brittany Griner, actually, she should see some game time because they got the advantage of Griner's not there. And if Griner is there, they're going to need her. The problem with Tierra McCowan, she just went under in that last game. And I know that because I bet her over. She only took 7 shots, but was only 43% from the field. In those games against the Mercury, we did see a lot more volume, 12 and 14 points in those games. And I think the key thing that we're not thinking about here is I'm going to make the assumption that Natasha Howard didn't play in those games. And I am correct. So no games with Natasha Howard resulted in a lot more points. If we're looking at the games without Natasha Howard, 9.1 attempts in 27 minutes. With Natasha Howard, we're seeing 7.3 attempts and 22 minutes, right? So with Natasha Howard, she's getting less shots and she's getting less minutes. Now, have I overthought this? That is the question. 3 out of 7 with Natasha Howard. Bad. You know what? I'm just not going to take any bets on her. I'm going to make sure that's not on my slip because I don't want to dance with her. I'm going to pass on Tierra McCowan because I just got confused as hell. Let's look at her rebounds. 7.5, 7 out of 19. 9 rebounds in the 2 games against the Mercury this season. Outlier stat is that she's exceeded 7-point rebounds in 5 straight games at home. So the home games, we see her with or without Natasha Howard, she'd be getting them boards. Check that out. 6 out of 7 home games this season. She hit the over, averaging 10.5 boards. And even if we put Natasha Howard in there, she's been at home with Natasha Howard twice this season, 13 and 12 boards. So 28, 23 minutes. Okay. I think I like the over here for Tierra McCowan and her rebounds. I don't believe she's going to have lines available. Well, they'll probably be limited at the moment. So you can see here on my slip, a lot of it saying it's not available, but I know it's available with other books. But at the moment, probably a lot of the books in the US, DraftKings and Underdog, they've got no lines available. But I know Bet365 has theirs. But Tierra McCowan, the rebounds over, I think that looks like a good look to me. The Mercury don't rebound too well. Her points, I've got no lean on. I'm confused as hell. The Natasha Howard stuff scares me. But in terms of her boards, with or without Natasha Howard, she'd be getting them provided they're at home. Speaking of Natasha Howard, let's talk about her. Her point line's at 14.5. She's cashed this in 5 out of her last 10, 4 out of her last 7, 15.1 points per game this season. Look at head-to-head numbers. Hasn't versed the Mercury this season, so I won't put too much stock into that. Nothing here. I wonder if this can give me some indication. About Lion, Natasha Howard has failed to exceed 14.5 points in 4 out of her last 5 games at home. At home, she's averaging 10 points per game. So that's a really interesting look. But a lot of these teams, probably I'd say on the better side when it comes to defense, perhaps. Maybe not the Dream. The Aces are right, the Sky are right, and the Lynx are pretty good. So Natasha Howard at home, outlier saying that the under's a better look, but I don't have enough confidence to add any of that shit to my bet slip. Let's talk about her rebounds. 7.5 boards. She's only hit in 2 out of 7 games so far this season, and she's only played at home twice, 1 out of 2 games at home. So these are her home games. A lot of these are last season, though, where she's hit the over, so I'm not overly keen on that. So Natasha Howard, I'll probably have to pass on. I can see her having a big rebounding game, but yeah. Checking to see if there's anybody else that can catch our attention. Monique Billings. Now, Monique Billings, she doesn't have props available, I can tell you that. She does, but not many. So her points line at 6, 5 out of 10. Nothing crazy happening here. Her games at home, they have been strong, but let me take a look at this. Games at home for Monique Billings. She's cashed this in 4 out of 6 games, but I believe she might also be impacted by the Natasha Howard return. That's her games without Natasha Howard. She's 3 out of 5, and she's only played 6 games. So I only got 1 game with Natasha Howard at home. She did score 14 points up against the Lynx, though, so that was pretty wild. But Monique Billings, her points in head-to-head matchups, had a bit of success. 10 points when they last played about 3-4 weeks ago. I probably lean to the over, but I think Arike is going to be my girl. This is her rebounds. Line's at 6. She had 8 and 11 rebounds in the 2 games against the Mercury already this season. So she'd be rebounding quite well. The outlier stats. Monique Billings has exceeded 6 rebounds in 6 out of her last 7 games versus the bottom 5 defenses for rebounds allowed. She's averaging 9.8 rebounds per game when she versus these teams who don't rebound very well. 2 of these games were against the Phoenix Mercury, which is pretty interesting. I don't know how many of these she's played with Natasha Howard in the lineup. 2. So she had 9 and 6. So I actually don't think this is such a bad play. Monique Billings, the over to the rebounds could be a nice look. All right, checking the list of leans that we have at the moment. Now, a lot of these aren't available on DraftKings and Underdog, but I know that they're available elsewhere. I want to just go through them, talk about the reasons why I like them, and then we can eliminate some things from there, and then we can get strategic about this. So, Dana Taurasi, her points line over 16.5. We like that because she feasts on these teams that don't do well defensively. She's got an excellent hit rate. The under 2.5 3-pointers made. Now, that's because this Dallas Wings team, very good at defending 3-pointers. So, and Dana Taurasi up against these teams that don't allow too many 3-pointers. One thing you'll find is with a lot of these teams that aren't very good defensively, they're not very good at defending the 3-point line either. So these trends are somewhat contradicting. So the smartest thing for us to do is probably not to bet them, given we've looked so heavily into them. So I'm going to remove Diana from my list of leans. I'll pass on that. The next one is for Clear Copper, and we're looking at her rebounds, the under 4.5 boards. And the whole idea around Clear Copper and her boards was that this Wings team, very good when it comes to limiting rebounds. And we've also seen in her last 4 games against the Wings, Copper hasn't rebounded very well at all. Now, this is one thing that's going to form into my strategy because this makes too much fucking sense to me. And I've been betting this particular way for a lot of this WNBA season, and it has not cashed for me. I think I'm 5-6 units in the red, losing money right now. And the first part of this strategy is me going against, I'm going to fade myself. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to fade myself, and I'm thinking about taking Kalia Copper over 4.5 rebounds. It makes 0 sense to me, but I'm going to fucking take the over because reading the data that I have seen, all signs point to the under. And when all signs point to the under, I think it goes the other way. The next look is Natasha Cloud, and we're looking at over 20 points plus assists for her, I believe. And Natasha Cloud, diamond up really well against this Wings team and scoring a lot of points. They allow a lot of assists. Natasha Cloud capable of doing both, and she comes into this game with great scoring form. So I definitely like that. That one of the players that I want to fade myself on. I think I'll run that. I'm going to keep a log of the ones where I fade myself and the ones where I'm backing myself. And for Natasha Cloud, I'm really backing myself on the over here. So I do like her over in points plus assists. So that's definitely one I'm going to be taking. And then with Arike Ogunbowale, I think after we've gone through everything with her, I think the points line looks good, but her rebounds and her assist line looks good too. I think the PRA for Arike Ogunbowale is the way to go. I am going to run a same game parlay with over points, over rebounds, over assists, and hope she just fills up the stat sheet. But that's my look on her. I'm not going to be fading that one because that one makes too much sense to me. And if she goes under, I might should have faded myself on this. McCowan, looking at the over in her 7 boards with Tierra McCowan and Monique Billings. I did have a lean for both of them to go over in their rebounds. For them, not really looking at nothing. I'm thinking about it. Monique Billings has rebounded really well against the Mercury as a late. Her line probably be at 6.5 when it comes to me sports betting, so I'd need to take her for 7, and that makes me a little bit hesitant to take because she hasn't been rebounding well as of late. And then if we think about Tierra McCowan, consistent, hasn't rebounded well that late either. She's only hit this line in 4 out of her last 10, I believe. So her form is terrible. Her form against the opponent, not necessarily the best either. She had 7 rebounds in game 1, 9 rebounds in game 2 when she played up against them this season. But she is at home. And at home, she does rebound like a beast. 3 straight games against the Mercury at home, she's covered. And 9 out of her last 10 games at home, she's covered as well. So Tierra McCowan, you have to do a little bit of digging to find the over in that one. So it's not one that's really obvious where I'm going to fade myself on. So I'll probably take the over in that too. So my final plays, we're going to go clear copper under 4.5 rebounds because it makes no fucking sense. We're going to go over 4.5 rebounds. It makes no sense to me. The under makes the most sense, but that shit hasn't been popping. So we're going for the over. Natasha Cloud, we had to apply a bit of science there. Her points and assists, the form is good. The matchup is decent. We're going to take that. She's got the hot hand. Arika Ogunbowale over in her PRA. Definitely the look there. And for Tierra McCowan, she's got excellent form at home. We'll be taking her over on rebounds. It should be at 7.5. Books release the lines, but that's the way that I'm going. Best of luck if you choose to ride with me. I also want to know what your thoughts are on the thought process. Should I continue fading myself? Or do I back myself using the strategy that I use very well in the NBA? I've got 100 units of profit in the NBA, running similar types of analysis here on the W. It's the same goddamn sport. Hasn't been working for me as of late. Do we stick solid or do I fade myself? Let me know in the comment section below. Type in the word solid or type in the word fade me, and I'll do either of those moving forward. Best of luck to us all. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.